Today we're going to talk about the Messianic era. In Judaism, Messianism, the whole thing about Messiah and stuff like that is not it's not about the actual character, the guy who's going to be the Messiah. We don't care that much about that. Our concern is for the welfare and goodness of the planet. Deep down, every human being, certainly every Jew in this room, but perhaps every human being in the world, and maybe I'm starting to doubt that, but has a feeling inside like things should be better. Things should be and could be better. And we all have this sense that a greater world is out there and waiting for us. We all sense that. And the question is, how do we achieve it? And the answer is we can't really. You can make your family better. You can train your kids to be more giving, more caring. You yourself can handle your own behavior. You can try to get a community to be more giving, but you got a planet with billions of people on it. How are you supposed to flip the planet over to benevolence and away from greed? And it really boils down to giving and taking. Like the whole planet comes down to giving and taking. Meaning God set up this video game called Planet Earth to see if human beings will give or human beings will take. Most ideologies, as great as they sound, are generally set up to take. Most ideologies, they create a big ideology, get everyone involved and excited about it, but in the end, they're going to grab territory. They're going to take over areas. You'll notice Christianity mowed through whole large areas of our globe. Yeah, and in the end, they get this territory. This territory becomes part of the Holy Roman Empire or whatever it is. It's territory. And territory means goods and assets and power in the end. Islam is all about that. It's all about territory. And now they're literally coming up to our borders now in Syria and Iraq, and they're heading in. The countries that are more neutral, like Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, they're they're freaking out because they've got these people who are these radical Islamists are mowing through this region, and they won't stop here. They'll go straight over to Europe and continue on their way of grabbing that territory. So ideologies are also anti-messianic. They're anti the era of goodness and benevolence of a messianic time, which brings up the subject of God awareness. Is there more than one type of God awareness? Can you have a God awareness that makes you more of a taker? Because we all look at God awareness as that turns you to be good. Like when you have a God awareness, so your goodness is the next thing we'll see. Yet you'll meet all kinds of people, and we've known throughout history, there have been all kinds of God-aware people who are big takers, very greedy, often shedding lots of blood. And so God awareness doesn't seem to do the trick, or perhaps there's more than one type of God awareness. So I'd like to talk a minute about what God awareness means to Jews, and then you'll see how it automatically leads to benevolence. According to Judaism, God awareness means that you're aware not just that there is a God, but that God is all there is. So God isn't just some being out there that you got to conquer territory for, conquer the globe for. God is a being that is absolutely all there is and everywhere, and this is everything around you and everything happening in the physical world is an aspect of God. It's all of God, ultimately. So killing in the name of God, what are you ultimately killing? You're killing God. When you steal, you're stealing from God. Everything is of God, according to Judaism. So the more God awareness you'll have, so then the more giving you become, the more you want to do good for people. Whereas in the eyes of other religions, God's just something out there. Okay? There's just some being out there beyond space and time, I guess, who is in charge of the world, and you've got to somehow let everyone know that. And now people start breaking out machetes and stuff, and they're going to show the world about, who God is. But it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare situation when people are trying to prove their God's existence to the planet. So in Judaism, everything's of God, including all the human beings on earth, good and evil people are all part of this. Whereas when you have an ideological God, a God who's somewhere out there and no one has any idea what it really wants, so you have then clergy telling you what this God wants. And now you're like trying to win over people to this version of God, your version of God. So it creates a lot of bloodshed, a lot of greed, and a lot of, in the end, imperialism, where people are mowing through whole geographic areas in the name of their God for more power. And of course, a lot of people die because anyone who's against that ideology is in the name of God. They are infidels and therefore no longer worthy of life. In the Jewish perspective of God, where God is really all there is, meaning there's nothing but God. So there's no jealousy from our perspective, meaning we can't, if someone doesn't get our version of God, we're not upset with them. Because they are all aspects of God. So like, for example, if Sam doesn't get God the way I do, that's cool, and if I don't get God the way you do, that's also okay, because, whoever really gets God anyway. So we're the only tradition in the world that has no idea who God is. Our clergy don't know who God is. How can you fight? How can you fight and be all defensive about a God that you have no idea what it's actually about? We have no idea what God is. We know the world didn't create itself. We know there's a God, but we don't know anything about God himself. We don't know what it is. So we're certainly not going to get all poised and postured behind it and start making this whole defensive battle, like somehow defending our God. We have to defend our God. We don't have to do that. And we don't do it. And all we do is we realize, wow, if God is everywhere, that means you're of God, I'm of God, this table's of God, everything's of God, every creature on earth, and every plant, every human being is of God, and therefore I want to do my best to tread lightly on this planet and make this world into a better place. That's the Messianic era. Meaning you're part of, if you're already thinking like that, how I just described, then you're coming with a Jewish perspective of God, and you are a progenitor of the Messianic era. You're part of the Messianic era. You're making it happen right now, just in your generosity, just in your benevolence to others and to the planet, to all beings. But unfortunately, we're dropping the bucket in a very evil world, a very crazy planet. We're like nothing compared to what's happening out there. So you got this quality, like this tremendous quality of people who have what I would like to call, I'm scared to call true God awareness because that sounds like them. But what I meant by true God awareness is recognizing the goodness of all creatures, no matter who they are, even if they're very different than you and have different beliefs than you. That our definition, which really comes from a lack of definition of God, is in a very tiny minority. It's a very tiny minority. We're Jews themselves make up 0.01% of the world population, and of that 0.01% of the population, the Jews that actually understand anything about God are probably 10% of the Jews. So it's a fraction of, it's 1/10 of 0.01% of the world population.
0.02.
What's that?
0.02.
So we're 0.02%, and then a tenth of us, a tenth of those Jews, have any concept of God at all. Whenever I speak to Jews out in America and I ask them if they believe in God, they tell me they believe in something out there. Like super vague. You ever heard those? Like, I believe something's guiding this planet,
Higher power.
And I believe in a higher power and all this stuff. which is cute. I mean, thank God. I'm not teasing them. I think that's good that they believe in that. But again, I mean, we're Jews. We're supposed to have a little more to say than that. That sounds like you're on your way to, buy a crystal in the local store. And as opposed to someone who would sound a little more informed about who God is, which of course we have no idea who God is. So, but I think once you admit you have no idea who God is, so then now you can really know God.
I have a question nagging on me.
Yes. Yeah.
We have the 13 attributes of God.
13 attributes of mercy.
Is that a way of knowing?
No. Not only that, it should be even more telling is we have the 10 spheros. The 10 spheros, God's 10, the 10 ways God creates the world. You'd think that'd be telling. You know what it tells you? It only tells you what God wanted us to know. It doesn't tell us who God is. Meaning, for example, let's say you have a boss who's like literally the funniest, friendliest guy ever when he's with his friends, but not at work. At work, he's like Darth Vader. So there's all this time you think you're working with Darth Vader, you finally meet some of his friends, and they're like talking about what a character he is. And how he's just the nicest of everybody, the biggest giver, and like everyone knows when you're going out with him, you're not paying, and he's going to cover everything. So you see how the boss is acting on a need-to-know basis. He's relating to you the way he's choosing to relate to you at work, when in fact with his friends he's relating totally differently. And yet his kids have a totally different way of also, because that's a good way to ruin kids, to be as friendly as he is. You don't want to be friends with your kids. Kids need parents. So we're God's little creatures here on this earth. He's showing us those 10 spheros. He's also showing those 13 attributes of mercy, but they are chosen for us. You get that? We have no idea who God is. He has chosen certain ways to relate to us. And, he's like, good little people. I'm going to rate with these 10 ways to you people. But it could be there's some other planet in some other galaxy and they're getting 20 ways. And some other planet in some other galaxy, they're getting 3. But they're all quite arbitrary compared to the essence of an infinite being. They're how God creates the world. And obviously the 13 attributes of mercy are how you deal with human beings with free will who are obviously going to blow it all the time and need those 13 attributes of mercy to survive. Okay? Still nagging? Good. Okay. Now this Messianic era business, again, on quality, we got high quality. On quantity, we're just losing the battle big time. I know it seems impossible for us to get our heads around how we're going to win this thing. I'm not talking about just the Gaza thing. I'm talking about like radical Islam's like literally like painting the globe right now. It's painting it red. Yeah, they're painting the globe red. And I just read a letter from it was translated from Spanish, written in Spain, by someone who he juxtaposed Islam to the Holocaust. And he says, we traded our Jews when we turned them over to the Nazis and we let them all be exterminated in Europe. He said that Auschwitz was the destruction of Europe. Now, Jews have said that forever. Observant Jews always said that because there was such a world of Torah before that and such a destruction of Torah after that, not to mention the Jews, Torah was destroyed. It was mostly the observant Jews that didn't get up and leave on time. And anyway, but this person is a Gentile saying that, I mean, if you just look from a broad scope of this century, we gave up our Jews, and to like somehow repent for that, we've been like super friendly to these Islamic people. And now Europe has 20 million of them. And they have taken Europe like down the toilet bowl. Like he was going through detail to get a whole paragraph of the garbage of their world, their cities, so their stuff they're dealing with now, with these, people who got like free housing as refugees, and who have now turned these neighborhoods into, basically, Islamic, like refugee camps, like crazy radical Islam stuff going on in these European towns. It seems hard, it seems bleak. How is it possible while Islam's carpet bombing the planet with hatred and greed and just absolute, bloodthirsty attacks and brutality and just absolute no sense for the value of human life and what they'll do to each other. They've already, mass what do you call it? Killings, mass killings right here. You just go, like literally go up to the Hermon mountain, look over the edge of the Hermon, you see Syria, and they've already had 200,000 people, blown away at close range, captured and killed in mass. These aren't war deaths. There's been war deaths. There's been, rebels versus the government deaths. That we're used to. I'm talking about like people captured like herded together like animals and then just blown away at point blank range by firing squads. 200,000 people already. And we could walk there in in a couple hours we'd be able to arrive there by foot, and we could drive there in 2 hours. What? And now we got these guys down here in the whole world telling us like we have to use, what do they tell us to use?
Restraint.
No.
Use restraint.
Show restraint.
Show restraint.
We can't even use it. We just have to show it.
Show restraint.
Force. Yeah.
Proportionate.
Shooting rockets. Proportionate.
There we go. Rocks.
Anyway, but nevertheless, we're going to win this thing because we always do. We always do, and God's, batting 1,000. I mean, if you look at history, let's say this is Sinai, and this is the other edge of history. This is like, the 6,000 year mark, okay, and this is Sinai. So as far as like things happening, like God's doing pretty well so far. And we had Sinai, we had the state of, we built the first state of Israel here, yeah. And then we had an exile, and then it was 70 years, and then we had another temple period, then we had the Roman exile, and then we had this like long period of time, yeah, which has been the Roman exile. And we're about, I don't know, then this, let's say, was 1948, the rebuilding of the state of Israel. And where should I stop here, guys? Let's say this is the first Aliyah. Let's say this is 1948. This is the Six-Day War. Okay, this is the, I don't know, we're around here, I guess. Yeah? So do you think God's going to pull this off? You think God's going to get us to the finish line? Or you think this situation we're in is more than God can handle? What do you think? Think God can pull this off? I mean, hey, these guys are pretty dangerous, These Islamic fascist freaks, they seem to have their act together. I mean, they're really going for it, and how many Muslims are there? We have 13 million Jews about, and how many Muslims are there?
1.6 billion.
1.6 billion of them. 1.6 billion. You think we're going to make it? Think we're going to win?
Absolutely.
We're definitely going to win. Because 1.6 billion knuckleheads is, I don't care what their gun power is, whatever they got, is nothing compared to the King of the universe. You see what God's already done in this particular situation. We have 3 boys kidnapped. We're all the whole country spends 18 days saying, poor us. The government somehow hides the fact that they probably knew they were dead to begin with, because when the later recordings came out with the shots. So pretending they're alive, creating this whole thing against Hamas, 18-day attack of Hamas in the Hebron area. And in the end, they find the boys, but what happens is not we, but someone, maybe they were just scapegoated, and maybe they really did it, killed an Arab kid, sends all of Israel into riots, and these guys in Gaza go on this like full-on rocket launch offensive when they were supposed to be waiting till Rosh Hashanah, apparently. They were supposed to wait till Rosh Hashanah when they were going to come in all their tunnels and do this. Like, they worked so hard for that. They're such idiots. I mean, they had what but it all had to be with the 3 kidnapped kids. Yeah, that whole porous part of saved thousands and thousands of lives. Those boys are pure sacrifices to Hashem. That, why should it be their boys, whatever, we'll never understand. Those families will never understand. Even though one of the moms already said all this. I'm quoting her, really. She's the one who said this. Everything I'm telling you is from one of the moms. But when God's running the world, we're okay. We're going to make it. And where are we going to make it to? We're going to make it back to a perfect world. We're going to make it to a beautiful world, a world where Hashem awareness, real God awareness, ushers into creation. When's it going to happen, though? After a really intense, crazy period. Would you guys say this is a really intense, crazy period?
It is, but it could be.
It could be crazier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy right now. I think that the West is going to have to start flexing their muscles. And that's when it's really going to get crazy. Right now you have Yishmael, that's Arabs. Right now you have Yishmael really flexing their muscles, and Westerners are having this horrible identity crisis because they're trying to be so friendly and nice and politically correct with these people, which is perfect for them because they'll just keep mowing through these countries and these areas. But the West is going to have to roll up its sleeves and realize that if it wants to survive at all, they're going to have to stop them. Now, do you think they're going to be able to stop them without use of force?
No.
There's no way. They have to use force. And what kind of force? Kind of force that uses restraint?
Well, especially after they armed them all.
Proportional force.
Proportional. Right.
What was it called? Proportional what?
Proportional force.
Proportional force. No, they're going to have to go head to head. That's when it's going to get crazy. So yes, it feels crazy now, but when it's going to get really crazy when the West finally wakes up. And it's not so far away. And you see a lot of people, if you check out Facebook and you see a lot of people are like trying really hard to send their Facebook messages as viral as possible to wake people up. A day doesn't go by where I don't wind up with at least 20 messages that are like, please pass it forward. We got to wake up. Though if it's in America, we got to wake up America. If it's the Spanish dude that I saw, we got to wake up Spain. We got to wake up, France. France is too late to wake up. France is history, but are Jews moving here, by the way, like in the last few weeks from France?
Yes.
I've heard that.
Ever since the war started?
Yes.
Yeah, because this year was the biggest influx of French people we've ever had because of the anti-Semitism. But I was wondering if this war created even a greater group of Jews. I mean, I can't imagine it's so easy for them just to pick up and go. But I guess they're doing whatever they can to get out of there. It's really interesting. The Israeli census said that this year would be finally tip the scales of Israel having the majority of Jews on the planet. But it's really on the edge. And little did we know there was the third biggest population of Jews on the planet. It goes Israel, U.S., and then France. But if you add all the French and all the U.S., then it's bigger than Israel. Except little did we know God had a whole other plan in mind. Because 7 years ago, the Israeli census said that this would be the year. To me, they said this would be the year that finally Israel would have the most people on the planet, most Jews on the planet. And so it's kind of been on the edge, and comes this Gaza battle. I'm sure the French are just like literally packing their bags. So we're going to hit it, which is very interesting, those who are in my Shemitah class, because I just did a big thing on Shemitah, because we're going to hit our first Torah Shemitah, because according to the Rambam, the second you have a majority of Jews on the earth in the land of Israel, so then the sabbatical year will be an actual full-on sabbatical year.
It's going to activate.
Yeah, which leads to all these other Messianic things. So the answer is yes, God can pull this off. Is it going to get a lot more intense? Yeah, it's going to get a lot more intense. How do we know that? Because this great war that's predicted on the 7th year, which is next year, but of course there's 32 7th years left till 6,000. We have 232 years left, which comes to 32 sabbatical years before 6,000. So there's a 1 in 32 chance it'll be this coming year, which is pretty high chances, especially if it's the first Torah sabbatical year. Anyway, the war itself is supposed to be a meeting of nations in this gigantic battle. And you can see how that's happening because, first of all, Islam's just they're like, ramping up. Islam's ramping up in a very big way right now. Imagine what this would look like in 50 years. What would that look like in 50 years? What would it look like in 2 years? It's ramping up, and they're really up. People have chutzpah now. People are the whole world, LA included. I just got the review of Shabbos in Pico Robertson of LA. Anyone heard of Pico Robertson? Yeah, just Pico Robertson. Many people reported that people were cursing them out their windows while they were walking to shul and stuff. People walk to shul there. So they're kind of sitting ducks for comments and stuff out people's windows.
There's a protest in Westwood, which is 5 minutes away, and there's windows getting shattered.
Seriously?
Yeah. There's a huge protest. It's pretty bad. Cops have to stop and break it up.
Really? You see that? They're having their own Kristallnacht in L.A. L.A. Yeah, L.A. where everyone's supposed to be on glue all the time, Oh, such perfect weather. They never you hear such a thing in Los Angeles. It's everywhere, all over the planet. It's all waking up. I tell you, do any of you feel safe going back to your local countries?
Absolutely not.
Where are you from?
Long Island, New York.
Doesn't it not feel safe for some reason? I feel totally safe here. And I'm supposed to be going to Europe with my wife in 2 weeks. We're not going to leave if there's a war going on, just because we're not going to leave our 8 children here. But we're about to cancel our trip. I said by Friday I'll decide whether I'm leaving or not to Switzerland. But Switzerland's great. No, Switzerland's great, but I'm just kind of feeling weird about flying into Zurich,
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I've been there.
But don't they win by you not traveling?
What?
Aren't they winning by you not traveling and changing your plans based upon?
Anytime a Jew stays in the land of Israel, we're winning. I have no interest in leaving Israel. It's just that my wife and I are way overdue. Someone's sponsoring it. So.
By you not going on your trip because of what's going on?
What's that?
By you not going on a trip based upon that?
That's fine. That's fine. I believe for every rocket they shoot, there should be 100 Jews moving to Israel. That's the way we show them. Yeah. And I don't believe a Jew's even allowed to leave Israel, so all I'll do in that Swiss town is search for a Jew and bring him back to Israel. I'm known for getting people on planes when I'm outside of Israel. No, when I'm outside of Israel, I'll comb through hotels and stuff and find the Jews in there and get to know the guy over the weekend or whatever. And when I'm not with my wife or something, it's so we'll meet up in another 2 hours. Yeah, I'll be back. Get back in that jacuzzi with this Jew I found in the gym. Anyway, but I'll usually get him on a plane, by Monday. Get him, because otherwise I'm not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to leave Israel except for 3 reasons. 4 kind of reasons. One is for financial reasons, because we know they left for the famines. You learn from our Bible when you can leave. The famines. But today, there's so much money in Israel. We have the most stable currency in the last 5 years, on the planet. Our currency's been very good, and there's tremendous financial opportunity in Israel. So that reason's kind of The next one is finding a bride, just like our forefathers traveled to Haran, to Syria, to find their brides. Yeah, but if you want to find a Jewish spouse, there's no better place in Israel.
Do they come for finding a groom also?
Yeah, but where are you going to find a better guy? than Amo, for example, over here. Where are you going to find Amo? Jungle Jim. Okay, so I'm serious. Like, where are you going to find a better Jewish spouse than the land of Israel? You know, it's like the place to find a Jewish spouse today. I mean, you can almost pin the tail on the donkey. It's a Jew. Yeah? Number 3 is you can leave the land of Israel for it's kind of obscure, but you're allowed to leave the land of Israel. You guys are gonna laugh. For learning Torah. It's like, why would you do that? No, but if you were living in Israel at a time where there were like no Torah scholars, you could go somewhere to find one. Like, you're allowed to leave for Torah. Like, you know, all the great Torah today is like, it's almost like the rest of the planet's actually, today, for the last several decades, the greatest leaders of all the Torah world have only been here. As much as there's been amazing rabbis outside of Israel, the Gedolim have been here. The real Gedolim have been here. Ever since the death of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, which was many, many years ago, it's almost 50 years almost, it's been here. He was the end of Gedolei Yisrael of America. Not that there weren't Gedolim of America, there were Gedolim of America, and there still are amazing Gedolim of America. But apparently, and I'm the last guy to understand this, but apparently our Gedolim here have been, in Israel, have been kind of head and shoulders beyond them. People like Rav Eliashuv, who passed away last year, and there's some of these elders like Rav Steinman, who's in his, I don't know, he's like almost 100 years old. What?
He's like 101.
101 already?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow. How old was Rabbi?
Rabbi Yashiv was got to 102, I think.
It's amazing that the leaders of the generation get to live, many of them live to like 100 years old plus.
He was one of the few people on Earth who had more than 1,000 descendants during his lifetime. He like bred an entire village.
1,000 people. Yeah, and there was a neighbor in the courtyard next to me who had 1,470, I think, while they put him in the ground, the 74th baby was born, 1,474. Wow. Guy by the name of Brichta, some random dude, died at 102 years old. Yeah, he was famous because he had daughters. He had like 12 daughters, and it was like a female choir every Shabbos. Like, you know, in summer days, there was no AC in those days, and they were just pumping in like female choir into this courtyard every Shabbos. That's what I used to, so I don't feel bad when I'm singing away with my girls on Shabbos, and it's shooting out into our courtyard. The courtyard next door had 12 girls singing, and so my couple girls can sing. Anyway, the fourth one is really, it's really 3. The Torah scholar one's just another additional one, is to return a kidnapped Jew. So that's what I do in the jacuzzi. Because think about it, Jews have been kidnapped. It's called kidnapped at birth. See, if you're kidnapped at birth, you don't know anything. So you think what you know is normal. You think your life's a normal life because you were kidnapped at birth. So secular Jews like myself, who grew up in LA, secular, it was like I was kidnapped from the Jewish people by my 2 loving parents who only wanted the best for me. But I was a kidnapped, you see that? I was like kidnapped at birth. And so if someone were to leave Israel and go start talking Torah with me and get me all turned on to Torah and tell me, why don't you come to Israel and study it? So he's redeeming a kidnapped child, kidnapped infant who grew up with foreign, you know, a foreign worldview, foreign to Judaism. So I can just imagine myself running around this Swiss village searching for a Jew the whole time. I imagine there'll be some Jew there, but they'll probably be observant. Europe, generally, the Jews that are in Europe are mostly observant over there. So, anyway, but the long story short is that it's going to get more intense, and it will get more intense when the West realizes that it's got an existential threat. They are refusing to admit that their actual existence as countries is being threatened. They don't want to recognize that now, but they will recognize it. They're going to get to the point where they're going to get pushed to the gills, and they're going to say, oh my gosh, we better do something now, or we're going to have to let go. and you're going to have Sharia law in the U.S. Can you imagine that? You know, it's really, that's probably what it's going to take for the world to wake up. Then they'll have to use brute force and no restraint, fight, big battle, major battle. We'll just be watching, according to the prophets. We'll just be like, you know, like, we'll just be like, whoa, whoa. You know, we'll just be like, what's going on? And it'll be scary times, crazy times. Apparently being a Jew in exile will really not be fun at that point. So and I'm not sure what the airspace is going to be like. So if you notice that somewhere around next year, you see stuff happening. Once we pass Rosh Hashanah, we're in the sabbatical year. So if you see stuff happening and there still is airspace to get into Tel Aviv, yeah, so you might want to get over here because apparently it's going to be like as weird as it already feels now outside of Israel, like the thought of being in like some foreign host country, even though the U.S. felt like home to most Jews, but it's really a host country. All you have to do is ask a Persian, ask any Persian in America if he's home or being hosted.
I'm Persian.
Oh, you're Persian. And where'd you grow up?
New York City.
Were you at home or were you being hosted by the U.S.?
So it's like at home.
No, exactly. But what are you?
What do you mean, Ron?
In New York, are the Jews being hosted or are they at home?
I don't know. New York's an interesting place. I'd say they're at home. I don't know.
So they're totally not. That's what the Germans said. Right before Hitler rose to power, they were feeling so at home. They were at the tops of everything. They were right in the center in Berlin with everyone, and in Munich. The Jews were like the highest affluency and part of the top edge of culture. So much so that intermarriage in Berlin in 1930 was 55%. They were completely accepted into the society there. And that's, yeah, so if you asked a German Jew if he felt whether he was home or being hosted by Germany, he would tell you he was home, when in fact he was being hosted. And so this is the biggest problem, is that when Gentiles are nice to us, we forget we're being hosted and we start to think we're home, but we're not home. The reason I chose someone Persian is because they recently had to leave Iran and therefore know with an acute sense that the U.S. is a host country. But that's how the fact that we had a Persian to ask and he said he was home shows us that it's so effective. Asav's like security blanket, the United States of Asav's security blanket of like, you know, we're benevolent, you're at home, freedom of religion, like you can just go ahead, come on Jews, just be part of it, you know, it's gonna be great. You know, we'll just slowly marry you off to Christina Cross until you don't exist at all. And you know, they'll just slowly lull us to sleep and until we're consumed by the culture of, you know, their culture there. But the opposite is that they all wake up and there's anti-Semitic protests in West LA, you know, right in West LA, breaking windows and stuff. And I don't know whose windows are breaking in West LA, but I mean, there are a lot of Jews there, but not around the Veterans Center. I don't know. Maybe they were searching for a house with mezuzahs. I don't know. So, to wrap all this up, I didn't really give you my Messianic class. It's a much more beautiful class, but I guess all this current events, you're like, he's radiating to me to talk about the situation, and it's like. And so is he. You know, you guys are like radiating the situation. But if anything, I wanted to give you guys a little sense of security to know that it's that God can handle this. God can hack it. He can handle what's happening in the world today, and we're going to be okay. Our job is to be the best darn Jews on earth. We got to be the most amazing Jews. Like seriously, when you do Shabbos, when you do a mitzvah, when you do tzedakah, when you do learning, when you do prayer. You know, if you're going to step into a prayer today or tonight, step in having in mind, like there was a reason God's doing this in history. I shouldn't be an irrelevant Jew who doesn't even know how to pray properly. If I don't know how to pray properly, I better learn now. because our boys are dying out, they're fighting, they're living, but they're fighting a battle over there in Gaza. Not so I should be able to be in Israel. That'd be like a Russian who's fighting a battle so he can be in Russia. No, we represent the last spark of true goodness, true God awareness, of real benevolence that comes with God awareness. That's who we are. That's what we represent. We civilize humanity with goodness. And part of that goodness is the daily life of a Jew, which is Torah study, prayer, mitzvahs. And that's how we live. So if I don't know how to do all that stuff, so what are these soldiers dying for? If I don't know how to live as a Jew, so what's the point of the soldiers going off to battle? Maybe we should just fold it in. Maybe we should just fold it up and just, let's all just move to Switzerland where it's nice. Yeah, let's all go to Switzerland. Why should we do this? Well, we need is this some kind of shelter for us, Israel? Is that why we're here? Because we need a shelter? No, we got a job. We got a mission. We're here to do amazing stuff. And if I don't know how to do that stuff, I better learn. And I'll close with a story of during the Intifada in the early 2000s of an intellectual in Tel Aviv who was an atheist who sent his kids to Torah school. They studied Torah. He sent his kids to the Torah school, and his friend said, "What have you done? You can't transfer your kids to a Torah school." And I mean, you're an atheist, and you're like an outspoken atheist, and you're like a big intellectual, and what are you doing? He says, if my kids are going to die for being Jewish, they should at least know what it means. And that's a kind of a negative story, but let's look at it in the positive. If we're fighting this battle to be Jews in the land, let's be the best Jews we could possibly be, so that these boys aren't fighting that battle in vain. Amen.